What's good? What's good, people? Back for that part 2 joint review with Dr. Umar joint. Just hitting on points where he ain't hit on, you know what I'm saying, for the community and just for the people in general. Like, check them out. Let's pick back up.
Of what you just spoke of, those ills, the exploitation and all of that, because black men.
So I made two different points. I said that one, if we're going to talk about people who are quote unquote in the house Negroes, right, are the people who are able to ascend and even participate in the exploitation of, right, the quote unquote field niggas, right? And so that has to do with class. That also has to do with the fact that we live under patriarchy, right? So that also has to do with the fact that you're men. But then if you also want to look at violence in our communities, right, perpetuating violence, I am pro-black. I would like to reduce/eliminate the amount of violence experienced within black communities. And so oftentimes, intra-communally, because we know violence is proximity-based, right? Black, cis, which means you born a man and you still identify as a man.
Wait, and clarify again, Z, what was your gender assigned at birth?
See, we black, right? Black people don't even use terms like that. They got to be taught black cis. That's what I'm saying, man. He sat down, somebody threw some shit in his head, and because it fit his narrative of where he was trying to go as far as not being identified by the normal titles, right? Because what did he say? Queer. Right. By this first definition, right? And it says often offensive, homosexual or gay, because it says down somewhere, I read it where it says, it's usually got something to do with, what did it say? It's orientation. Not being reclaimed the gay man. I can't find it here. I lost it. I had it on the other video, but for individuals with sexual gender minorities, queer is an identity, an umbrella term, and often considered a movement for individuals for sexual gender minorities. So that's what I'm saying. They just categorized all them. Everybody who wants straight, they was categorized as LGBTQ. And honestly, they all are queer. They all would be considered outside of the norm. Okay, so this is the movement in general, just so they can all fit under one umbrella to say we just different. Okay, so just put that back on the table.
I don't understand the relevancy of that.
No, because you answered it early. I just want to remember because somebody said I called you queen because I thought you said your gender assigned at birth was a female. Was that correct?
No. I said I was queer. I said I was queer throughout this process.
No. I got the queer part, but what was your gender assigned at birth?
Right, I was assigned female at birth.
Okay, you was assigned female at birth. That's why I called you queen. Okay, so because somebody I'm on fan base. Just so you know, see, as we have the conversation, I'm on my Facebook and I'm on fan base, and somebody on fan base said, "Did you call a man queen?" But you was assigned the gender of female at.
Peep the confusion. It ain't just Umar. It's people like just watching this joint that's confused, bro. Like
at birth, so I was appropriate. I thought they were saying I was misrepresenting. Okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
You are misrepresenting, but
okay, so
very concerned with the language.
No, I want to be educated, Z. No, I want to be educated, sis. When I call you queen or sister, based on the gender you was assigned at birth, is that disrespectful to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why is it disrespectful to you, and what would you prefer I call you?
Well, you can stay away from the royals because...
No. That's just who I am. You don't have no control over that. Do you understand where I'm coming? No. I want you to make sure you stay within the zone of what is eligible to be critiqued. In other words, I have black women who will say, "Don't call me queen." It's not up to them. Because calling black women queen is second, stay with me, is second nature. You understand? It's like,
I wanna hit this queen and king shit real quick too. I ain't got no real beef with Umar, like I said before, other than the fact that I don't believe in that out of Africa shit like that. And I'll probably be putting forth videos in the future about why not and shit. Just my little research and shit. I'm researching and shit. But this king and queen shit, like, if you claim king or queenship, right, the thing that makes a king is the fact that there's motherfuckers under him. And the queen the same way. Like, that's the heave high shit. Like, in Egypt, the kings and the queens, they were wealthy. They had more than everybody else. They got buried in whole other plots. Like, you know what I'm saying? They got treated like royalty, while the people, the peasants, they were low, right? So the people who Dr. Umar would be fighting for right now would be considered peasants compared to the eyes of the king. You feel me? So you from a peasant position. How was it millions and millions and millions of black people in America, right? But all of them kings and queens. Who would be the peasants that's serving these people, right? Now, if we say kings and queens on another level, we're all kings and queens because we all have our kingdoms and queenships inside of our home. We all run our home as kings and queens, and our children and so forth, right? So then you will be considered that, especially when you're the head of the family, even if you have kids, like you're a grandparent or a great-grandparent, you're the oldest of all of them, you consider still the king and the queen, where they still got to come to you. Even the little kings and the little queens, they still come to you and sit under you to learn. You feel me? So that's on that. Like, if y'all gonna do this king and queen thing, then you got to understand, when you sitting at the top of the pyramid looking out at a bunch of servants, the servants are slaves. So you're now a slave master watching everybody work in your fields and build up your empire, your city and all that. So keep that in mind too. Let's go.
I'll call a grandmother Queen Mother. She might say, I don't want to be called Queen Mother. It don't matter. I'm going to give you the title of respect whether you like it or not. So for you, getting away from the royals, calling you sister would be disrespectful if I understand you.
My fault. Goddess would be more, I think, would be better. God and goddess. Because it's just showing your creatorship, not that you're like the slave master type joint. But you can still do the king and queen joint, but it's really all about how you meaning it. If you meaning it as if you're over the peasants or you're over your household. But God and goddess, that should work either way.
Correct?
If we working in the politics, you call me comrade.
Okay, but comrade is political. Comrade is political.
Absolutely.
What would be the appropriate gender pronoun for you?
He, him.
He, him is a one? That's one?
Yeah.
He, him. I mean, it's a pronoun. You asked for the pronoun.
No,
So
but what I'm saying is he, him, one pronoun, because that's two words. So is that a hyphen between them, or are you giving me two options? Are you saying call me he or call me him, or is he, him a single descriptor? You follow where I'm coming from?
I mean,
are you putting those two together, or those?
No.
Okay,
so
okay.
Separated.
Okay. So even though you was assigned female at birth, you identify as he. Am I correct?
Yeah, let's keep it simple then, yes.
Okay, I got you.
So you female at birth, but you identify as he. So now you can choose whether you are he or him. The confusion of it is when you come out, now he's saying there was more than he and him. Now he came out and now he's saying he's a him when he came out as a her. See the confusion here? He at first was saying he don't identify with these terms and shit, right? But now he's identifying, this female is identifying with the male because it just wanted to identify with a male. So now we have this confusion of it just being like queer. What are you? Well, I want to be a man. I'm doing these little switch over things. I'm identifying with the male. That's who I like to identify with. So if you were to ask him, he'd probably say he's a male. He said I would stay away from assumptions earlier when he asked him, are you a female or not? It's just a bunch of confusion. I feel like, yo, if you is what you is, man, but like all of this, man, this is chaos. Like,
I got you now. Let me go to the next. Yo, what's up? Yeah. Peace and love, brother. Are you homosexual, bisexual? I don't want to disclose. I don't think that it's relevant. I think the people who know in the audience, they know. But I need to know, brother, because you're having a conversation with me. Well, I mean, is it Thursday? I'm straight today. It's Thursday. What do you mean you straight today is Thursday, brother? Be honest with me, brother. Are you straight? Are you?
so what kind of shit is that? I'm straight today. Today is Thursday. Okay, the fact you said I'm straight today, so what that mean? You could be gay tomorrow? Then that mean, nigga, you gay. Or you bisexual. If you straight today and gay tomorrow, that means you bi. That's straight and gay. You both together. So this the confusion shit. That's what I'm talking about.
Gay, what? I really want to solve a problem. Okay, and I'm gonna let you solve that problem, Brandon. But Brandon, tell me how you identify, brother. What's wrong with telling me? I'm poor. You're poor. I'm asking about your sexual orientation, brother. Come on now.
He poor-minded.
I don't mind sharing.
Who says they
just
poor?
tell me, brother, and then you can go right into your point. I just want to know your frame of reference, brother. That's allow me the courtesy of going into my point. Okay, go ahead. I'm with you. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Brother. So, what I think you're looking at, if the question is to be legitimized, is what you're really examining is a particular thing that plagues all black movement, which is vibrational disharmony. You've got people who appear to be in community, people who seem to share a perspective or a desire for justice, but when you sort of investigate and interrogate their value system or their priorities, you realize that there's a lot of distance between why some people are showing up and why other people are showing up, and that we're not all actually actively trying to achieve these big radical systemic changes. Okay. But I think the core issue with your
See, this is the problem. We're not all trying to achieve this big radical systemic change. That was his words. We're not all trying to achieve this big radical systemic change. Instead, like, so what do they think they trying to achieve marching in the streets and doing this shit what they doing now? They achieving a big systemic change. Like, but the direction in which they going, because their voice is so loud. If they came together and we just all came together as the people and was like, look, we need to get everything clear. We need to clear everything, clarify everything. Everything needs to be clarified. And now we on a whole other level of thought. We ain't on a poor thought. You know what I'm saying? That's a poor thought to not be on a systemic mindset and to be focused around this shit. This shit is a distraction. Arguing over who you want to have sex with and be called like, and then these guys end up being called female or melanin, you know.
Question. It suggests that the only predators or the only traders on the plantation landscape were the core issue with your question. It suggests that the only predators or the only traders on the plantation landscape were house Negroes, when in fact there were people who were in the fields who also executed traitorism, that also executed being predators. That is correct. That is correct. And so I think that politically, in terms of value added, in terms of the weight that's been carried by one particular subgroup of black people or the other, I do think that it's important to humble people who call themselves straight. What do you mean by humbling people who call themselves straight? What do you mean by that? I'll make the point. That very much so you are a myth as it relates to the volume and the weight of what you contributed to any of the radical movements around the black community. I mean, you've been present, but mostly for cerebral labor. But the places in which people experienced harm, violence.
Now peep this. It seemed to me, now let's go on, because it seemed to me he kind of like trying to distinguish queer people different than straight people in this struggle shit. That's what I'm saying. We all going through it together while we fighting separately.
Negligence, I should say neglect, being in community but out of community at the same time, but also adding really invaluable things to our master narrative of progress as black people on the globe. Well, those people had some lean toward what the good brother, described earlier, Z described earlier as queerism, and you use terms like homosexuality and some other things. Which
is there something wrong with using the word homosexuality?
Well, no, I don't think that, but I do think if you want to assert your straightness again, if you want to assert that, I do think you have to understand that even tone matters in trying to investigate that, and that in many cases, like I heard you say something earlier.
Once again, because they sensitive about being called homosexual, gay, faggot, lesbian and shit because of the shit that we put on it over the past, right? So now, like, kids used to get picked on and shit, motherfuckers used to get hung and all of that shit. So now people are scared to call themselves these things. So now they have this term queer, right? And it's like, oh, they're gonna stick with that because it's like this thing that you can't really define. Like, you can't really define us and we're all together. And it's like, because they really are all queer. That's what it really is. If once again, we went back at the definition, right? Strange or odd, like this is homosexual, right? You saying like, so if you're gonna refer it to sexuality, right, and you're gonna say it means odd sexuality, then they're just saying that they're all underneath one umbrella, like I just read earlier. Like it's an umbrella which they all stand underneath. So now straight people, we all stand underneath one umbrella, and they created their own umbrella. This is this brand new fucking umbrella that they've created, that they all standing under. Like the people before was just fighting for freedom. Now they fighting to be gay and all of this other shit. This shit is kind of new shit. Like even the women's movement, that shit wasn't out here. It wasn't some shit that people was doing here. That shit came with colonism. Feel me? Like the people in this land, they wasn't fighting for no women's rights, gay shit, lesbian shit, all of this homosexual, or call me queer or this or that. Like this wasn't the case here. This is some shit, the confusion that came along with colonism in order to keep us confused to who we really are, fighting the real fight. Let's go.
With regard to I can't judge you or I'm not against it. Well, you're in no position of authority to judge or be against it because you don't exist in the hierarchy based off your expression of sexuality in proximity to some.
See, once again, the hierarchy, right? So he's acknowledging the hierarchy. He's saying that Umar is in no position to judge, but the hierarchy is. They in a position to judge if in your mind they in a position to judge. You feel me? Like they might judge you, but in your mind, if you feel like that judgment was legitimate, you feel me? This is where it goes down to this worship thing. It calls down to you from you being in captive and underneath servitude of an oppressor to now you're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's a poor mindset. Like he doesn't want what's better. Like these people were told they were slaves. Now they've been given crumbs, right? Deteriorating crumbs at that. And they're like, yeah, we good now. Now let's just move on to this other shit, this other problems that we have. Like now they're trying to fix the system, right? Now they're trying to fix the system that they were given to control them with. Ain't that some craziness? Like when they came over here with the system they got, they brought over the education, like the education system was something that they used. That's why they went and they were scraping up the tribes and stuff that was over here, and they was forcing them to be educated, right? And they had to come back when they was older, because by then, now they mindset it, right? So they people knew how to live off of the land, but the more educated the people were, the less educated they were about the land itself, and they didn't know how to survive off of the land. They had to get a job. You see what I'm saying? So at the same time, now we got the build of this thing here. We got the build of this the system, right? Where they use us to build the system from the education system. If you didn't have the education system, then you would have got taught from your grandparent, great greats, and all of them about how they was living, sewing and all of that, and doing shit in the field and building, and you would have been outside doing that shit. But the schools took you away from all of that shit, put you behind a desk, and had you staring at somebody. Like, if you look at the schools, it's the same setup that you got inside of the classroom. It's the same setup as the courtroom, and it's the same setup as the church as well, where you got the one person in the front, then you got the seats all at the back, and they all facing the one person. You see what I'm saying? It's the same like programming. Let's keep going with it.
But we're talking about us exclusively within the black community, my brother. Based on your expression of sexuality in proximity to someone else's. But we're talking about us exclusively within the black community, my brother. So we're not dealing with the larger hierarchy of the white power structure. We're talking about us living in the same community.
That's what I'm saying. They started talking about, they were supposed to be talking about us, and now he talking about, oh, the judgment. And then he went to his judge. He went to a white man. That was his judge. Instead of saying, like, you being judged by your community. Like, no, brother, I'm not being judged by no community, or by you, brother, or whatever, or by the Pan-Africanist community, as this man is supposed to be the ambassador or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not calling you on your joint and you got it down here to say 65,000 views. I'm not doing that, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a level of respect. It's like an atonement that really needs to be taking place. Not saying that he's being judged because of his sexuality, but to see that he saw the judge as some European sitting in the robe instead of his brothers and sisters talking to them about what's going on. Feel me? Poor mind.
As black people, what exactly within the black community, my brother? So we're not dealing with the larger hierarchy of the white power structure. We're talking about us living in the same community as black people. What exactly does LGBTQ stand for, so heterosexuals can better understand your movement? Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, but at least we can understand you. You just said it again. Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, because we may not. Some people might, some people may not. There's people who agree with me.
So is it okay that we don't agree with them? A lot of them don't agree with us. They go into our communities looking to take our people. You feel me? Like, they do that. Like, they'll approach you trying to, you know what I'm saying, turn you, whether you are a male or a female. So, like, you know what I'm saying?
Stand you. You just said it again. Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, because we may not. Some people might.
Don't have to agree.
Some people may not. There's people who agree with me, and there's people who don't. That's just a part of life, brother.
I don't agree with Umar. No, everything.
You may not agree with me being straight. You wouldn't say that same thing. And so in making that statement, which seems very passive and unaggressive, you're making a very problematic assertion about the authority that straightness has over anything else, as if everything else is alternative to straightness, which in fact I'd argue it's not. Okay, do this for me, Brother Brent. I got you. Can you? The word of the day is syllogism. Okay. You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to, truly, under white supremacy. Wait, say that again.
Now, I do feel like this. like I was saying, because certain ways or suggestions are pushed, like even racism. Race wasn't even a thing till they started pushing that shit like in like the 1600s. Then they came up with all of these different races and shit. Then like later on in like the 17 and you got the late in like the 1800s, you got like Franz Boas and all of them and Du Bois and all of them. Like they really came out with that whole race thing before then. Like that won't none of that. You see what I'm saying? They crept it in on our people. They snuck it in on them. They had techniques and tactics and ways of doing these things. You know what I'm saying? Like we listening to Germans and all of this shit telling us that everybody's African and shit. Like this go back further than Marcus Garvey. This go back like who like when Garvey and them come over here, he was messing with Du Bois. You know what I'm saying? And this is a part of the joint that they had on like. You know what I'm saying? With this whole taking us out of who we were. Like we was all facing the center of the earth. You feel me? But now we all looking different directions. Everybody was looking the same direction. You feel me? We was all looking to the way compasses point. The people like the tribes and shit, they taught about all of this shit. I ain't gonna go into this. This ain't the video for that. But let's go.
If you do not choose sex, give me. You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to. We do not have sex or choose partners in the way we would like to under white supremacy. What do you mean by that? That is some very unfortunate way, wherever you see yourself on what they call a spectrum, that we are all inhibited and restricted in how we express ourselves through procreation, through partnership, through community, through the very simple function of the orgasm as it relates to the...
I'm not gonna lie. What he's saying, I agree with about this spectrum in which they like you to where you have to agree on the spectrum on everything. Like that's the control of the whole mind. Like you don't really know how you really feel about nothing because the world programmed you from the start.
Way that we are all under the through community, through the very simple function of the orgasm as it relates to the way that we are all under the surveillance of white supremacy that basically says that has always said and continues to say very subtly that black sex should be legal, that it is amoral, that our sexuality is something other in the same way that you as a straight person would like to other this thing, homosexual, queer. White supremacy certainly others black sexuality, all black sexuality. Understand that. The white supremacy others and takes away the normality and the value of all black sexuality. It's always important when you're on a stage that when a person makes an important statement that you amplify that statement. And I would agree with the good brother Z. Anti-capitalism is primary. No, it's not. White supremacy is primary. White supremacy invented capitalism. We would agree. I said I would agree. I understand that, and I'm just clear.
Identity is primary, man. And proof of identity. Like this is real. We got to be able to say we this, know we this, and prove it. Like a lot of these people that's watching, he got 81,000 views right here. A lot of them people is they brothers and sisters out of here, out of America, and they think that they Pan Africanists. They think that they from Africa, right? And a lot of them people had people tell them that they from right here, that they Indians. They was told they was Indians. A lot of the people who watch this video, Umar video, got native blood, and they ain't even claiming it. They claiming Africa. This is what this is all about. I don't know how deep Umar in on the knowledge of this real shit. But this what I'm saying. He went to school all them years. Now he here talking about everybody from Africa and shit and all that. And then his Uncle Garvey or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But let's keep it moving.
Clarifying my position that no, it's not. White supremacy is primary. White supremacy invented capitalism. I understand that, and I'm just clarifying my position that without white supremacy, there is no capitalism. They invented it. Capitalism is the economic system of white supremacy.
Are there LGBTQ agents and ops in the black community? Yes.
I'm sure.
But are there also are there straight agents and ops in the black community? Yes.
I agree. Yes, sir. Nobody said it wasn't. I didn't say that the LGBT community represents the sum total of all degeneracy in the black community. I never said that.
And we know that's true because we understand that we can experience anti-blackness in predominantly black spaces. And so I hope that your conversation evolves to somewhat of a solutions-oriented thing, but I would caution you.
But you didn't give us a single solution, Brother Brandon. How are you going to say you want the conversation to evolve to solutions, my brother? You didn't give us not one solution.
Well, I have a book of them. You really want them? Well,
sure.
I make policy. I run a policy group. It's called Campaign X.
Okay, so in Campaign X, can I ask you a question? And then we got to let you go to move on to some more speakers, but I appreciate you, Brother Brandon, for joining us, brother. What are the 3 major policies you're working on right now in your policy group? Quickly, name the 3. 3 major policies you're working on.
A $33 minimum wage. We also need to rewrite HR 40 so that we can distribute equitably reparations in this country.
We don't need nothing that these people got unless they're gonna give us technology, or like they could give us education, free education. They could give us our land back. You know what I'm saying? Open up spots for us to take this shit over and move the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Certain bloodlines, they shouldn't even be allowed over here or in connection. You feel me? This the type of shit that needs to be done for the people. Like it's crazy why we tweaking their system when we need to get rid of it anyway. And capitalism came out of Egypt. That was stepping on the little man in order for the big man to have it. That shit came out of Egypt, the system and shit we got. They tell you everything came out of Egypt. That law system and shit we got, that shit came out of Egypt too, man. They was practicing the same way over there with the pharaohs. They was basically the presidents and shit. They was presiding over the residents. It's the same shit, man. Y'all got to really look at this, man. Check it out.
Statehood for the District of Columbia to ensure that they receive electoral vote representation and also receive legitimate representation in both houses of Congress and a structured government that ideally would be majority black and ideally would elevate policies that would improve the overall quality of life for all Washingtonians, whether or not, I should say, residents of the Douglas Commonwealth. Even though that's not where I live, I went to school there and have been deeply immersed in an understanding of the hardships that have historically been faced by blacks there. So $33 minimum wage, rewrite the reparations bill, because it is not equitable.
I don't know if he said $33 minimum dollar wage. That just sound crazy, man. We need to stop manipulating the dollar wage as well. Come in. Yeah, I'm making the video. Yeah, can you come back in 5 minutes? 5 minutes. All right, my bad. So, dang, she threw me off. I know I was about to go into something too. Let's keep going.
It's not trustworthy. That's historically been faced by blacks there. So $33 minimum wage.
Oh, that's what it was. The minimum wage joint. So when you up minimum wage, right, when you give the people more money, then that makes the value of the dollar bill go down. the more money that's in circulation that you're giving people to work for. So we need to work for less, for real. But it needs to stay at more of a constant level, and it needs to be backed by something. That's if you're trying to fix this system. But fuck this system, man. We need to splash it, yo. Every time the dollar bill go up, yo, every time you get paid more money, the price of gas go up, the price of milk go up. Yo, it's the price of everything go up at the same time. That's the decreasing of the dollar bill. You can see this thing flatline. Yo, the people who talking about upping in minimum wage, they being manipulated by the government, listening to politics and all of that shit like that instead of really thinking about how this shit work for themselves.
Like the reparations bill, because it is not equitable, it's not trustworthy at this point, and states the Douglas Commonwealth.
And I can respect that. And all three of those that you mentioned, it sounds like they would benefit all black people, not just LGBTQ, correct?
I would say that every single one of those policies for me was drafted from the Constitution, from me constituting myself from the position of the queer and bi and gay members of our society. And that's what makes it more than...
See, now, when we put together communities, we ain't really giving a fuck. We don't want our kids perverted and shit. We want them to get mates and reproduce now. If you have a five gay children, then you got 5 kids and they all gay, and they don't want a mate, then now we got to go and do some old scientific shit and this vitro and all of this shit like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And ain't nothing wrong with us doing a thing like nature had thought us to do, but we can't tell them that this shit was kind of a programming type of a shit for the people, them putting shit in the food, the air, and the water. You know what I'm saying? And how they teaching us and shit in order to more stimulate this movement and create this confusion amongst the people, kind of turning the people against each other. Because if we're not gonna reproduce amongst each other, and the numbers of that are gonna decrease, and soon we're gonna have to turn to science in order just to reproduce. Let's go.
valuable for everybody else.
So I didn't understand that. Those policies will benefit all black people, correct? That includes gay and straight, correct?
Yes, I just made the important observation that when writing those policies, I didn't constitute myself from seeing myself as a straight black man.
No, not as a straight black man, but as a member of the black community, correct?
And identifying which identities in my community face the greatest systemic hardships and the greatest exclusion, intercommunity, intraracial, interracial, and it would be true that in all of those particular situations that there has to be some hyper focus on people who have disabilities, people who have social disabilities, people who have
He's trying to fix the system. Meanwhile, they're creating a lot of those disabilities.
Okay, so you said Brandon, Brandon, in your reparations bill, you have a special component of reparations just for the LGBTQ.
In the discourse, in the actual bill, no, but in the discourse that's going to lead to what will become a bill, yeah, there's a particular focus group for the interest of black identifying, black activists, black abolitionists, queer identity. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Thanks a lot for that, brother Brandon.
As there is an interest group for disabled persons, as there is an interest group for elder persons to contribute to this policy, but we begin at the level at which we see the most harm being done, and we cannot deny that in fact that the group that you are choosing to discourse about today fit into that.
Got you, brother.
Y'all comment, man. Speak on this confusion, man. Hit me up.